but I'm just going to be talking about the FIBA MVP poll. Now, this is going to be the official MVP poll and not really, the fans and just, their opinions on who should be the MVP, because now the official MVP polls are out, and there we go. I'm just going to leave that there just because I'm barely even going to use this slide anyway, because let's face it, we all want to see everyone's faces, and we all want to see who exactly is leading in the polls. Obviously, LeBron James, like the only MVP, the only player that anyone needs, the only player, like the Sunshine, the GOAT, the greatest, the only player that should be in the MVP conversation if I'm being serious. Like, let's face it. This man, he's going to win the MVP. He is number one in the standings, and I mean, number one by a long shot. Like, nobody else in the entire Olympics has done nearly as much as what this man has done. And the fact that he also was able to accumulate a triple-double definitely helps his standings in the ladder. And really, I have no complaints about this guy being number one. And nobody should. Second is Nikola Jokic. Now, obviously, aside from winning, being an issue, like, everything else about his game is all there. Like, without him, Serbia wouldn't have gone nearly as far as they have. And they have his performance to thank for, not losing to Australia. They also have the other performances that he's going to have in the bronze medal game, right? Like, we still have to wait and see the results of the bronze medal game to see if he ends up helping Serbia win the bronze, like, in a very big way. There's a possibility that he might win the FIBA MVP. But again, LeBron, like, it's very difficult to argue the MVP if you end up winning the gold and you're the best player and you win the gold. Next on the list is surprisingly not a member from Team USA. I thought it would be, but it's actually Dennis Schroeder. Like, yeah, Dennis Schroeder for the German team. I mean, he's been playing phenomenally well for them, but I didn't really think he was playing that good enough to be considered or, like, be in the top 3 for the MVP. But then again, when you compare him to everyone else on this list, he's arguably been the one that's been the most consistent. I mean, like, the rest of the players you'll see on this list, they haven't really been nearly as consistent as Dennis Schroeder has been for the German team. So, fourth on this list is Kevin Durant. And, I mean, I'm not really shocked to see Kevin Durant be on this MVP ladder, even though he does come off the bench. Like, that is the only surprising part about it. Like, the fact that he comes off the bench and he's still being considered for the MVP. Like, that goes to show you just how great he is and just how, valuable he is for the United States. And really, I mean, like, there's no other player. I mean, maybe Anthony Edwards, but then again, in these past few games for Ant, he hasn't really had much of an impact for the United States. So, I don't think I mind having Kevin Durant in there. I genuinely don't think I mind, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you rather see somebody else in this spot? Would you rather see, like, Anthony Edwards take this because he's had more consistent games and he's been playing a lot better than most of the players on the roster, or are you just fine with KD? Next on the list is Franz Wagner. Now, he was one of those players, like, I thought he didn't earn his contract for the Orlando Magic, but he is definitely showing just how good of a basketball player he really is in these Olympics. And I have no problem with him being at the 5 spot. He's been at the 5 spot for the longest time. And, he's been just a phenomenal player in these entire Olympics. He's not going to win the MVP because, there's still Dennis Schroeder. But, again, he's been great. Next on this list is Bogdan Bogdanovic. Again, he was insane in the recent game against the United States. So this is probably going to boost up his MVP ladder. This is, before these games, this ladder. So he might end up finishing in, like, maybe 4th, like, taking Kevin Durant's spot. But again, I mean, the fact that he ended up losing, it's really going to be a challenge to win the MVP and be on the losing team. But, I mean, the fact that he was able to do what he did against the United States is nothing short of amazing. And yes, he is looking directly at Carmelo Anthony and doing his infamous 3 to the dome celebration. Like, that is what he's doing. That takes a lot of savagery, but thank the Lord that it ended up backfiring for him, because you do not disrespect the USA Melo and get away with it. Man, if Melo could lace up, oh my gosh, he would just jab, 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 shoot, jab, jab, pull up, just over this man's head. Like, no competition. Melo was that guy, especially on the Olympics. Now, next player on this list, Victor Wembanyama. He's been very lackluster in these Olympics. Like, he's been very underwhelming, and I didn't really expect him to be this underwhelming in the Olympics. He hasn't really been the reason that the team has gotten this far. It's more so the team has gotten this far, which is something that the United States has to be worried about, because if Victor goes off, along with the team going off, it could spell serious trouble for these guys. That's all I really wanted to say. And next is his French teammate, forgive me if I completely botched this name, because I still have no idea how to pronounce it. Guerschon Yabusele, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Forgive me if I just messed up that name entirely. He's been very, very productive for the French team, and very, very important for their wins in all of these games, actually. So I have no problem with him being in the 8th spot. Then Anthony Davis. He is 9th on this list, and, I'm kind of surprised to see him on this list, especially after the lackluster performances that he's had. I would have much rather liked to see somebody else on the poll, but then again, the fact that Canada ended up losing in the first round and nobody ended up playing really well at all isn't really going to, help any of those players in the MVP standings. And finally, Daniel Theis. Daniel Theis, he's been a little bit of a surprise for the German team. Aside from Franz Wagner and Dennis Schroeder, Daniel Theis has been one of the better options for the team. Now, notice how every single player on this list that I mentioned was a player that ended up qualifying, or on the teams that ended up qualifying to compete for a medal. There's not a single team or a single player on this list that is in the MVP ladder, right, and isn't qualifying for a medal. Germany, they're qualifying for bronze, same with Serbia, and the French, along with the United States, they're qualifying for the gold. So it really, I think the MVP is it's a little bit similar to how it is for the NBA, where it's it's mainly awarded to the best player on the best team, or the best player on a winning team. And just off of that assumption, I'm going to make the very bold assumption that LeBron is going to be the winner of the MVP in this FIBA, and that's just going to be another thing to add to his ridiculous legacy. I mean, I don't remember Michael Jordan winning FIBA MVP, but then again, I could be completely wrong. This was before my time, so again, no, I don't remember. I don't have any memory of that time. And I mean, this is just going to add on to his legacy as, going along with his finals MVPs, as well as, just regular MVPs as a whole. I mean, the fact that he hasn't won a single NBA MVP in a very long time is ridiculous, in my opinion. I think it's almost unacceptable, the fact that he hasn't won an MVP in a while. Now, hold on just 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and I'm looking at the list of the MVPs, the FIBA World Cup MVPs, and yeah, no, there hasn't been, Jordan doesn't have one. I don't think Jordan has one, because the FIBA World Cup, right? Shaq won it in '94, and in '98, somebody named Dejan Bajroga for Yugoslavia ended up winning it in '98. Then in 2002, Dirk Nowitzki ended up winning it. Then in 2006, Pau Gasol ended up winning it. 2010, Kevin Durant won it. 2014, Kyrie Irving won it. 2019, Ricky Rubio won it. And in 2023, Dennis Schroeder for Germany ended up winning it in the end. And at least, according to this website. Now, I have no problem with the MVP winners on this list. And to be honest, I mean, the Olympic Games MVPs, so I'm just looking at them right now. The most recent one for 2021 was Kevin Durant for the United States. And obviously, I mean, it's just was this the only I'm not entirely sure if this is a new thing because I don't see any other years where where the Olympic game MVPs have been handed out. So I think this is a relatively new thing. But aside from that, this just shows the longevity that LeBron James has had throughout the majority of his career. Like, he played for so long that he was able to not only win all these new awards that have been introduced in the NBA, but also win these new awards introduced in the Olympics. Like, that just shows how ridiculous his longevity is. And aside from that, that's really all I have on this final segment, and that's all I have for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. And as I said before, we love hearing what you guys have to say, whether you have a burning question or a hot take or you've just been something that you wanted to get off your chest. This is the show that's all about keeping the conversation lively and making sure that your voice is a part of the mix. And to make sure that your comment gets noticed, or if you want a question that gets noticed, use Super Chat. Just hit the $ below the chat box, send your message, and it's guaranteed to get featured on the show. It's a great way to support the channel, really helps the show, and your Super Chats help keep the lights on and bring you even more of the content that you love. And also, if Super Chat isn't really your thing, you can always use the link displayed below the ticker or the link in the description, GSMCSports.net. Really helps the show, makes the show much more interactive. You can tip, donate, and leave your comment or question. We appreciate every little bit of support that we can get. Thank you so much for tuning in. And, just before I end this off, I should remind everybody that the finals for the Olympics are going to be held on Saturday. The bronze game is going to be held at 5 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and the gold medal game is going to be at around 3 o'clock Eastern time for any of you guys that are interested. So be sure to tune into those games. I'm definitely going to tune in. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast as well. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to